jobs, about 80 of them, including 8 senior managers. But will this be enough? This year's fuel costs have been $37 million more than last year, which means that Governor Blagojevich's decision to give seniors free rides may be starting to hurt. 2009 will get worse, and a budget deficit of $66 million will reduce services and raise rates. What are your thoughts on public transportation and the crisis? Call me tonight on Garrard McClendon Live. Welcome to Garrard McClendon Live. It's your night to call me, Chicago, at 630-575-TALK. The CTA is in a pinch, and the only two things that can fix this are budget cuts and fare hikes. I want to hear from you, Chicago. Did Governor Blagojevich jump the gun by giving seniors and low-income disabled passengers a free ride? Are you willing to pay more for your trip to work? 630-575-TALK is my number. Call me. Express yourself on CTA Matters. Joining us by phone, we have University of Illinois Transportation Center, urban sprawl, and travel demand expert Sim Soot on the show tonight. Welcome to Garrard McClendon Live, Professor Soot.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I really appreciate you being on the show tonight. Interesting story today with the CTA. I've got to ask you this question. Is there an efficient way, a more efficient way to run public transportation?
Public transportation traditionally is a very labor-intensive industry. It takes a lot of people to run and a number of individuals to perform the operations and maintenance of a system. It's something that cannot be mechanized, and transit systems across the world are heavily subsidized, and remarkably, to some extent, the systems in the U.S. have lower subsidies, help from state and then federal governments than they do in this country. So,
you know, Professor, you just went right into my second question. It seems as if around the world, public transportation is more efficient. I mean, is that true, or is that a myth?
Well, they have better coverage in most cities, but they're more heavily supported by federal governments and local governments. And even in places like Europe, where you're looking at gasoline prices that are twice as high as they are in the U.S., people still prefer to drive. And in those circumstances, government steps up and says, well, in order to provide a good public transportation service, we have to pay for it.
You know, Professor, should we be paying more as everyday citizens into the public transportation coffers? You know, now I'm kind of stating this from somewhat of a spoiled point of view because I do commute every day in my own car. But for those, you know, there was once a time when I did use public transportation, and that is definitely something that has to be in place for those who choose not to drive cars. So should we be spending more tax money? Should everyday citizens, whether they use public transportation or not, should they put more into the system to make sure that we don't have a budget fiasco that's taking place right here with CTA?
Well, I certainly support more public support, more governmental support for public transportation. We have to recognize that we have about 26% of the households in the city of Chicago that don't have cars. And then even in some of the suburban communities like Evanston and Oak Park, it's around 13 to 15% of the households without cars. Now, all of those individuals, to some extent, subsidize directly or indirectly the highway system. And so I think all of us should be prepared to provide additional support for public transportation.
Yes, sir. I've got Professor Sim Soot on the line with us right now. I have to ask you, did Governor Blagojevich jump the gun? Did he act too quickly when he basically gave every senior citizen a ride? Was that the wrong thing to do? Was it the right thing to do? Was it fiscally responsible? Talk to me, Professor.
Well, I'd like to think that it was a good thing to do because it's something that many European cities and governments provide. Unfortunately, we don't have that same tradition in the U.S., so we're a little bit of an anomaly, and perhaps in the U.S. context, it was a little bit too early to provide such rides.
Yeah, you know, and I want every senior to have a ride. If you're disabled, I believe that you should have a ride. But I read in today's paper, John Hilkovich was the writer in the Chicago Tribune, 92,000 free senior citizen rides per day, Professor. I mean, isn't that a little bit overboard?
Well, I think, in a way, it's delightful that we are providing additional mobility for seniors, and that kind of mobility is really a hallmark of our standard of living. I like to see that we all have an opportunity to reach those destinations that we'd like to go to, but perhaps we're a little bit out of step with that desire on the one hand to have mobility and the willingness of the state and city to provide the resources for that.
Yes, Professor, there's some job cuts. Some heads are going to roll. Looks like 80 jobs, including 80 administrative jobs. There's also 8 senior managers that are going to be cut. Was this the right thing for CTA to do?
Well, I'm a little bit concerned about whenever you cut back on labor matters. There may be some short-term, long-term, medium-term consequences. For example, if you cut back in the law department, you're going to have to farm out that service, and it may well cost you more. Or if you cut back on maintenance activities, that's going to increase delays, and then it's going to annoy riders. So typically these kinds of cuts are not really very good for the transit system.
Professor Sam Soot, we appreciate you being on Garrard McClendon Live. Thanks, and we definitely want to have you back on the show.
Very good. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Could these job cuts have been avoided? Was the governor too ambitious? Representative Kenneth Duncan from the 5th District joins us next. Call me, 630-575-TALK. Garrard McClendon Live, back in 2.
So the facts are that this program has a very real cost. The facts are next year, if there's not a change, these programs will be north of $60 million. And so the bottom line is they're not free. Someone will ultimately pay for these programs. We're doing everything we can before turning to our riders in any way to turn internally first and see how much we can tighten our belt, how much we can cut costs this year, and to set ourselves up to be in a better financial position going into 2009.
Uh-oh, it's belt tightening time. That's King Huberman. Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. Call me, 630-575-TALK is the number. That's CTA President Ron Huberman speaking earlier today about the belt tightening measures. We invited Huberman and Carol Brown from the CTA, and they respectfully declined our request, but may be available as the issue continues. You know, I want to get right into some rider comments. We've got some clips from riders of the CTA. Let's go to those right now if we can.
Every time there's a crisis, it's the same thing. We're going to raise the fares, we're going to cut the service. Is it a ploy, or is that really need to be done? That's my main concern.
Very scared. I can barely afford the monthly pass as it is. It's too time consuming to go into, but it's just overwhelming for me.
No, I'm not scared of what's going to happen in the future, but I am disheartened by them being a whole $66 million. That's a lot of money.
Boy, Garrard McClendon Live, the people have spoken. This is a very serious issue. People are concerned about rate hikes that may take place in 2009. I want to go to my blog entry today, and then I'm going to go straight to the phone calls. Earlier I wrote, look for service cuts and increases on fares next year. With 5% more people riding CTA and fuel costs elevating, you know your daily cost of going to work, school, and coming back home will become more painful. I drive a car, so I'm not as affected as CTA riders are. But I'm concerned because I know senior citizens and students who ride the CTA. In closing, $30 million spent on fuel alone, $30 million over budget. It may be time for the CTA to hire a good accountant. Let's go to some phone calls. I'm going to John. Welcome to Garrard McClendon Live. Let's go to Calvin. Welcome to Garrard McClendon Live. Calvin, how are you today?
Hey, Gerard, thanks a lot for taking my call, too,
Yes, sir.
man. I love your show. But I'll tell you something. Ron Huberman acts like a big bully that enjoys his job, man. He looked like he liked to make people feel pain. But, you know, the bottom line is, if the people in the state legislature would get off their butts and finally make a decision about doing something about this budget CTA crisis, every year is SOS, the same old stuff. You know, nobody in the legislature wants to do anything. Ron Huberman, he's threatening, most of the riders and everybody else. And then they manage to talk about the poor senior citizens that gets around, and sometimes that's where they get around and do their shopping and stuff, because in most cases, some of them don't even have kids that would drive them to the store, so they got to do everything themselves. I think it's a shame with Ron Huberman. And I'll tell you another thing, too, is this. He's not taking a pay cut, I bet you. Carol Brown's not taking one either. Thanks for taking my call, buddy.
Now, wait a minute, Calvin, you still there?
Yeah.
Calvin, check it out, man. I got to ask you this question because you got me laughing. Do you think that Ron Huberman is looking at all of these great jobs that he gets as stepping stones to another political office or a better, job?
Well, is coffee black or is there cream? Is there cream in coffee in some situations? Ron Huberman is basically I'm going to say it, and I don't care. Ron Huberman is an opportunist. I think everybody on earth here in Chicago knows how he got his job in the first place.
Hey,
but
Calvin.
then all of a sudden, he comes in with all these threats about, hey, cutting this, cutting that, and then the 80 jobs that he's getting ready to cut is probably me, but he's not going to take a cut in his job as far as pay.
Hey, Calvin, do you think that Mayor Daley may be grooming Ron Huberman to be mayor? Hey, check it out. Hey, Calvin.
He's going to do that, but he's not that much, but he's stepping up into something else. Who knows? It may be even downstate, I don't know. But one thing I do know for sure is this, Rod, that bottom line is he needs to lay off the senior citizens as far as riding is concerned. Not only that, he needs to hook up with the people in the state and legislature. That's where the money is going to come from in the first place.
Yes, sir.
I remember you had a show recently when you talked about schools. The same thing goes with schools like it does with the CTA. Everything is run downstate and through the federal government. And if you don't get the funds there, where do you get them? Do you keep beating these people over the head?
That's right, Calvin. Hey, I appreciate the phone call, man. Hey, keep watching Garrard McClendon Live. I appreciate it. I'm going to Demi next.
Yes,
Hi,
good evening.
Thank you for calling Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment?
Okay, I guess the guy that just called, he had me laughing a lot. But I guess my comment is, this is insane. They push and tell you to go to school and get an education. So I'm pretty sure the financial people at CTA have college degrees. So now you're going to try to tell me us little citizens knew that the price of gas would probably be maybe $5 by the end of the year. You're going to try to tell me that these people didn't figure this in when they did their budget? I mean, it is totally ridiculous. So either the president of CTA is lying to us or the people that's working for them are total morons. I mean, this is total, insanity that they're trying to tell us and push on us so that we can believe this crap. I mean, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
So you feel that it's not just fiscal irresponsibility. You feel that this basically was premeditated.
Well, it's either one of them. So, I mean, come on. I mean, again, I can't believe you have these people that's working for you that's supposed to, know all this stuff, but they couldn't figure out and take into, the gas prices, they're probably going to go up. So we need to be, including this in our budget. You're trying to tell us little people that, I mean, come on. I mean, that sounds totally insane to me. So I believe that they're lying.
Yes.
I believe they're trying to get what they want, and they're just trying to tell us, look, we didn't, plan for this. Just like President Bush told us we had to go to war. Now we find out that was all a lie.
Thank you, Demi. I'm telling you, she's saying it's smoke and mirrors. There could be something to that. Hey, I want you to call me and rate CTA services. Scale of 1 to 10, a 7, an 8. Will the job cuts and fare hikes make things worse? Call me, 630-575-TALK. Garrard McClendon Live. We'll be back shortly. Okay. We open it up to me?
It's actually going to come out to the
Side.
To the sound,
Oh,
to the side, and
okay.
then
The tough thing here is that the more people the CTA handle, the more budget pressure they have. More buses need to be operated, more cars on the trains, more maintenance. And paradoxically, even though traffic has been good, the bottom line hasn't been. We didn't think, though, this bad news would come out this quick after last year's budget accord.
Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. The show's website is at www.cltv.com/GML. You can post blog comments there and join the online conversation. Call me, 630-575-TALK. Right now, we're discussing the CTA and job cuts, service cuts, and fare hikes. What are your thoughts, Chicago? 630-575-TALK. I'm going to phones. I'm going to Julie. Julie, thank you for calling Garrard McClendon Live. What's your comment?
My comment is this. I'm all for senior citizens riding free. I don't believe that the governor dropped the ball on that. I think that was the best thing he could have done for our senior citizens at this day and time, considering how hard things are. I think CTA dropped the ball, Huberman and Carol Brown, because they did not do their math. When they put out those free bus passes, those senior citizens bus passes, they have the S's on them. You got some that was out there already that had the P's on them. Senior citizens were getting on the bus for $1 originally, and then they made them free. When they started getting on the bus for taking $1, they never took the P's off the streets. That's why you got 92,000 people riding every day. You don't have 92,000 senior citizens riding. You got all kind of people riding because those P-bus passes are still out there. And our people are not totally honest. If you get an opportunity to get on the bus for $1, you're going to take it. So they need to collect those P-bus passes. Basically, they need to hire some people to do some clerical work and take care of that part of the situation, and maybe they'll be a little bit better off with that money situation.
Wow, Julie, thank you for calling Garrard McClendon Live. That's a great phone call. She's saying fiscal irresponsibility and there's no checks and balances at the CTA. But check it out. I've got Representative Kenneth Duncan with me right now from Tribune Tower. Representative Duncan, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Gerard. How are you?
I appreciate you coming on the show. You know what? We got 80 people being cut from the CTA. We're looking at cuts to save $40 million. Rod Blagojevich is in the press today. Some people are saying he made the right move by letting seniors go free. Others said he shouldn't have. What are your thoughts, Representative?
Gerard, this has been a major issue of debate, certainly in the General Assembly when it was first proposed. We had no idea there was going to be such a major financial impact as been explained or exhibited today with the layoffs. I think we may have to go back and review the type of legislation that we all voted on because we wanted to get the right fix for CTA and make sure that there were no layoffs, no service cuts, and nothing of this sort where there's really sort of CTA being in the red.
Man, I appreciate that. Hold tight with me, Representative. I've got to go to break, but I'm coming right back to you. More of your calls on today's show, 630-575-TALK. Did the governor bite off more than he could chew? Free rides for seniors? Wow. Welcome back to Garrard McClendon Live. We're talking about the CTA. We're talking about budget cuts. I've got Representative Kenneth Duncan with me. Kenneth, let's talk about this, man. Did Rod Blagojevich jump the gun? Did Blago jump the gun on this? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm down. I'm all for senior citizens riding free. There's people in my family that live in Chicago who are senior citizens. But talk to me. Did he act too soon?
That was a general consensus. Now, I'm a big supporter of the governor and a number of his initiatives that are out of the box. But the reality is every senior citizen is not created equal. Just because you're 65 and older does not mean that you are low income or you're poor. There are a number of senior citizens who are living pretty healthy as it relates to their economy. They're on a fixed income, yes, they have a nice pension, but all of them are not necessarily poor. This is something that came out of the governor's shop relatively sort of immediate, and no one expected anything of this sort, and we had to vote on it because, again, it was a part of the total package. And a lot of us don't want to be seen or didn't want to be seen voting against seniors, but the fact of the matter is you have a certain portion that are low income, and they were already receiving a nice discount, and you have a lot of seniors who can afford a bus pass for a month.
Yeah.
who can afford the discount.
You know what? That was a serious political move, and I have a problem when you have to vote for certain ordinances and bills in a lump, in like a lump fashion like that. I've got big problems with that. Also, let me ask you this: it doesn't make sense to me, Representative. If a senior has $1 million house, why should they have a free bus pass?
That was a question that was asked during debate, and likewise, even with the military piece. And then you have the disabled community saying, hey, look, we want to ride free as well. Again, just because you have a disability, just because you're a senior citizen, just because you're in the military, does not mean that you are low income. Now, it's a good and great patriotic thing to do. We want to take care of our senior citizens, but the cost factor of where we were and where we are today, obviously, is not anything that's benefiting the system as a whole. Because most legislators in the House and the Senate wanted one thing clear: no raised fares and no service cut reductions, hands down.
Man, give me a final thought. I know we're short on time. Final thought, Representative.
Well, I'm prepared to go back and review these numbers here and to see exactly what we can do to avoid or stave off any reduction, any further cuts. I don't know all the details of these 80 particular individuals, but we have to do what's responsible, and that is to see to it that the senior citizens who are eligible to receive a discount receive the discount.
There we go. Thanks a lot to, Representative Ken Duncan. We appreciate you. Also to Professor Sim Soot. CTA cuts. Wake up, everybody. Hey, I want to thank you for watching Garrard McClendon Live tonight. Hey, I got a quote for you. Margaret Bonanno said it best: it is only possible to live happily ever after on a day-to-day basis. That's Garrard McClendon Live for tonight. I want all of you to have a good evening. www.cltv.com/GML is the blog. Hit me up. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Ask or ask? Donda's rules suit shoes.